phone. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the SketchCraft Podcast. I am Rob Duenas, Graphic Artist Esquire. And if you're joining in for the very first time, you should know that every other week or so, I do a podcast where instead of being a professional, I get to be a fan. Just talk about fan shit that's coming out. News, artists we're following, comic book shit we've been reading. Maybe sometimes we watch a movie, talk about it here. Because if I don't, then I sit on the phone for 4 hours with my friends, annoying the shit out of them. So I figured, why not annoy all the bots? So thank you, Russian bots. I really appreciate you. We love you. Joining in tonight is Brandon Mega Potato James. Brandon, say hello.
Hello, everybody.
Also joining in, former managing editor at GameFan Magazine, Senor James Bacon.
Hey, everyone.
Awesome. Ooh, the soothing sounds of bacon. So, all right, we're going to get right to it. We're going to start with artist updates. Let me just cue up the little graphic. Watch, check this out, folks. Look at it. Bing. Oh, wow, look at that. Artist updates. This is basically where I just sit around and tell you all what I've been up to. Start with myself, and then we'll go round robin. Past week or so, not been a lot of art streams. That's because I've been writing. I took a week off. Didn't mean to. Actually, I intended to take a day off and then get right back to drawing. But sometimes people ask me, Rob, how do you get yourself going again after like a big deadline, or how do you get yourself motivated when you got a lot of work in front of you? And sometimes that means working on other stuff. You know, like I kind of don't work on things for a while. So I don't have immediate deadlines, but there are things to get done like Power Prints and Game Cave. And I actually spent this entire week writing Game Cave stuff, sort of just aligning all the pieces so I can move forward into regular production. Brandon, you were privy to some of that writing process.
Madness.
And I would love to show it, but it would basically spoil everything I'm going to do over the next something years, right?
Oh, yeah. It's and the way you have it all laid out is so intricate. It's like seeing the top of a maze on top of a maze on top of a maze on top of a maze. There's so much in-depth shit that you show. I started to hurt just looking at all of it. It was just, it's so much. It's a lot. It's not like you just wrote like the spaceship flew into the sky. It's like it's just so detailed and intricate of everything about your story.
And
so,
Bacon was there with me about, actually, I think I first pitched this to you 6 years ago, if you remember.
Oh, God. That long ago?
6 years ago, I said, hey, let's, I had started doing this little mini strip in GameFan Magazine where I met Bacon. And I got real bored with doing all the work. So I was like, what if I could do my own comic? And so I had this idea of doing GameFan in the future. And I created all these characters, and I actually drew it out. Bacon, you saw some of that art.
Yeah, dude. And I'm thinking like this, it had to have been at least 6 years ago because this was before I moved to California, and I've already moved back. So that's unbelievable.
Yeah, well, I first showed you this stuff 7.5, and then when GameFan fell through, I never published the comic because I had to get the actual magazine done. But I did pitch to you to maybe doing a video game magazine digitally or print on demand called Game Cave.
Yes. Yep.
About 6 years ago, and we just couldn't seem to make that happen for life. And then about 4 years ago, I went to Kickstarter and actually successfully kickstarted the first volume of this game magazine. But if you guys don't know, I had a business partner who went and stole all my money. So I had to go and spend my savings fixing the other Kickstarters I did. And I've taken this time to basically develop an entire universe. It's really fucking weird. And I will be beginning production as soon as I'm done with Power Prints. All the artwork for Power Prints is for Game Cave. So I sort of tied that into this. And then moving forward, the only thing I'm going to be working on comics-wise would be Game Cave, maybe the occasional cover here and there, but or Game Cave-related stuff. So I've just been spending the years not just writing one book, because I've actually written the fucking thing. It's just making the universe and all the stupid shit you got to have to make it happen. Even to the point where, Brandon, your wife's been helping me develop, I don't know how to describe this. It's like we've been using RPG Maker to basically make like an interactive wiki. It's like the best thing I can... Like, imagine being able to go to Game Cave, but as an RPG, but it's not really an RPG, so you can talk to everyone, play little mini games and shit, so... It's fucking stupid.
Just creating a universe.
Yeah, doing all those things. So I've been this week assembling, like I've been taking these other pieces that exist around Game Cave and just fitting them all in, and when it breaks, fixing it. And I'm pretty much done. I'd say I got about another week of just taking a step back and fine-tuning it. So I'll be getting back into, I got 3 commissions to do, a big commission, and some cover art, which we're going to roll right into, and then Darksiders as well. So, Brandon, what have you been up to this week?
I have redone, I've been working on this Sinestro. Well, first I started off on laying out a couple commissions, Mega Man X and some Street Fighter stuff, and then I went into the Sinestro piece that I've redone. I'm looking at, I think, 5 copies here on my table that I've redone, and I just now redid it again today, the 6th time, with some red Cola Race pencils. So it's going to have a nice little cool reddish lines underneath the yellow once I start coloring his suit again. So I'm working on someone's commission, and they're patient, which is nice, and it's going to be definitely worth it when they get it and when I finish it and do it right. So,
and speaking of patience,
I haven't posted anything yet.
Speaking of patience, I got a question. Did you reboot your computer before we did the stream?
I did.
You did? So it's just Skype.
I did. Does it sound bad?
I'm considering making your icon that of a robot so that it's all part of the gimmick, you know? Like I think I might make you both bots. That would be so when Skype acts up, it's just part of the sound. You know, potato bot and bacon bot. That'd be pretty awesome. Speaking of which, folks, I didn't realize you both have food icons now. I have to think about that. So, good times.
Because we're delicious.
I know, right? James Bacon, have you been up to anything this week, or you just been shooting the shit, playing video games, trying to get a SNES Classic?
Not trying to get a SNES Classic. I'm not one of those crazies. But I've been playing a lot of Destiny 2. That's really it. I mean, I guess before that, I started to get back into WoW because all the new Legion updates were taking place, and it got its hooks into me again. But then Destiny 2 came out, and same damn thing. It's an MMO, and I guess I can't keep away. But that's really all I've been doing is playing Destiny and working.
Good times. Well, moving right along, let's talk about Artist Avenue. So basically, people ask me, Rob, you follow any artists? And this is where I get to say, yeah, I do, and here they are. Fucking, they're cool. So I'm going to start off. I got a good pick. A big fan of an artist by the name of Otis Frampton. I've been following his art for a long fucking time. He's like my age. I think we were in the military at the same time, so that puts him around the same time as you too, Bacon. But he did these. He's known for doing a lot of like Star Wars art and stuff. But he did this on his own. Let me show this to you. Let me go right to desktop. Boom, boom, boom. He did a bunch of these faux Jawa Adventures covers. He made a bunch of these on his own, and then has been sort of like trying to get, the attention of Marvel or IDW. And they're pretty fucking awesome. They got that whole like Scotty Young feel, but they're clearly his own thing. I gotta be honest, I would buy this fucking in a heartbeat. Like out of all the Star Wars things I've seen them work on, this would be something I would instantly purchase every month. Brandon, have you seen any of this stuff?
No, I've never seen this guy's stuff. I mean, but I like it. I dig it. It does have that cool Scotty Young brush look with the shapes, but it's his own way. I wouldn't say this guy is like a Scotty Young copy. It's like clearly its own stuff. I like it. It's clever. It's funny. I think I'd probably buy the book just to see these Jawas getting all kind of crazy adventures. So I like it. I like the look of it. A lot of people try to do the Scotty Young look. I'm not saying he does, but this guy nails it. I like it. I like how the thick, the thin lines are. I like the colors on it. It looks really well done.
Yeah, he did a good job on this. Bacon, did you see any of this stuff yet, or is this new to you?
No, it's brand new to me.
Would you buy something that looked like that? Would you buy this?
Yeah.
It's your cup of tea? You like the fun stuff. So.
Yeah, I'm a cover art purchaser if ever there was one. If I see a comic book in a store that I've heard nothing about, but I really like the way the cover looks, I'll pick it up and flip through it. And if I like the way the inside looks, I'll go and buy it. So this is something that I'm very interested in.
Yeah, I like humor in my comics, even if they have some deadliness to them. So it would be cool to see them do something like this, but also add a little bit of like, they actually get blown up. Like there needs to be it can't just be for cutesies. Like some of this stuff would have to be deadly. But I think this is pretty dope, and I think Otis knocked it out the park. And I hope cats out there at IDW, who I know are doing the more family-friendly stuff, they outsourced it to IDW. So they're doing like the Star Wars adventures now over there. I hope they pay good attention to them. And Lord knows Marvel could use some more fun in their comics. Alrighty, Brandon, you had an artist you wanted to share.
Yeah, it's a different kind of artist, 3D artist. Will.
Okay, you need to repeat that. Repeat it because you got cut off with Skype.
Oh, Will Hughes is his name. He's a 3D artist. Really dig the way he takes things like Rick and Morty and Pickle Rick and all those type of stuff and makes it really creepy, like really 3D creepy stuff. So
yeah, this is pretty weird shit.
But it's cool. You got Noob, you got all kind of stuff on there. Yeah,
it's a disturbing, realistic Homer Simpson right there.
Yeah, and his Pickle Rick just looks so awesome. And he's obviously a fan of Rick and Morty because there's a bunch of them in here. It's cool. I don't really follow a lot of 3D artists, but I like his stuff. It's just I usually don't like dark stuff either, like creepy stuff. But this stuff is creepy and cool.
And Mr. Poopy Buttholes, the stuff of nightmares.
Yes. So it's definitely dark, but I think it goes well with the subjects. So it went a little different this week. I decided that instead of showing a traditional artist or
no, you're welcome to share whoever you follow, man. I would say that the cool part is that it does the realism, but it keeps a lot of the cartoon features. So it's not just trying to do like a realistic face. Some of them are like that's pretty dope. You did the sculpt of Scary Terry. Yeah, that came out really nice.
Yeah.
James, any thoughts on Will Hughes?
It is pretty creepy. It is creepy. I'm not, I'm not an artist, and so anytime I tend to see an artist of that caliber, I mean, I know I couldn't do that, and I know the amount of training and time and experience it takes to be able to do that, and so I always kind of stare in awe. So you're not really going to get an objective opinion from me, but
shocking.
I do really like the stuff. I think that it's really well done, and he takes pop culture icons and puts a really slanted twist on them. If you're into that kind of thing, he's pretty decent.
Bacon likes everything until he writes about it on Facebook, and then he hates everything.
And I hate it. Yep.
Yeah. It's an interesting dynamic you have in your critiquing process.
Well, so, I'm bipolar. I either love it or I hate it, and I tend to love most things. But if I hate something, I really, really hate it.
Yeah, well, it's pretty good stuff. So again, Brandon, you're always welcome to show 3D, 2D. We hold no art is art. I think that Pickle Rick is gonna. I want to show that one more time, folks. If you missed the Pickle Rick, that is creepy shit right there.
It's creepy.
It's good though. It's good times. All right, everybody, let's move on. So now let's go to internet news. So some stuff is collected in the last couple weeks. Lots of stuff actually. I'm gonna we'll start with the big stuff and go into some of the smaller bits. Let's start with J.J. Abrams was announced to return to Star Wars Episode 9, which I'm certain none of you heard about that. That's news to everyone here.
Who is
Star
J.J.
Wars?
I don't even know who that is.
Who is J.J.? He owns all the lens flares. Immediate reactions to this news. Bacon, like to hear your...
The following is a presentation
sorry. Go ahead, Bacon. Your thoughts on...
Well, I either love it or I hate it, and I don't like J.J. Abrams at all. Not ever since Lost, when he's had the tendency to piss down my back and tell me it's raining. But he did okay with Episode 7. So I'm willing to to grin and bear it, but I'm not exactly excited.
Well, I should make note that they initially, so they had Colin Trevorrow directing, which Humberto Gonzalez broke a couple years ago, right before Comic-Con, on the eve of Comic-Con. Like, he scooped them before they could announce it. And then he did that movie called The Book of Henry, which, if you didn't like The Force Awakens, I dare you to go watch that film. And then, which we covered here, has a beautiful poster, though. If you haven't seen the poster for The Book of Henry, go look that one up. So then Lucasfilm pitched it back to Rian Johnson to possibly do. But as we've spoken about here before, there's these things called like production and pre-production. And James, you know, Bacon, you worked a little bit in Hollywood. You know, pre-pro on a movie like this has got to be a minimum of 6 months, right? Like,
it's forever. Yeah, all the scouting that takes place and all the different roles involved. It takes a very, very long time. And you know, to just as an aside, real quick, with all of the history that you're giving to the you know, the process behind bringing this particular episode of Star Wars to life. I mean, if this were a video game, we'd be verging on development hell, and that never bodes well for a production. And so that's another thing that's kind of got me a little skeptical about this.
I don't know if I agree with that. I don't know if I agree.
Well, that's just my opinion, and you know, I could be wrong, but
we wouldn't give. Okay, let's just talk, because I'm interested in this. Right, this is why I have Bacon on, because we can disagree now. Development hell, troubled productions equals troubled projects. Or troubled results. Let's say troubled results. I don't know if I believe that. Case in point, right?
I'm not saying that it's 100% the case, but I would say that the longer a game is in development, particularly when juxtaposed against a rocky or mismanaged development cycle, it increases the chances of the end product being not as good as it could have been. I won't say bad, because there are some pretty decent things that have come out of a long development cycle, even rocky ones. But it's a thing that has my excitement sort of under a cap. I'm not saying it's going to be terrible. It's fucking Star Wars. I'm going to love it. I'm going to go see it. I'm going to buy all the toys, because that's how I am. But if we're talking, you know, contributors and contributing factors, I'm a little less excited for this one.
Well, you know what had a troubled production? The original Star Wars.
It sure did. You're right.
And Empire Strikes Back. You know what didn't have a troubled production? Oh, no, it had a troubled production. It was a year over schedule and budget. What didn't have a troubled production was Return of the Jedi. And episodes 1, 2, and 3. Production went smooth. Now, episode 1 took 5 years worth of pre-pro, because Lucas just couldn't decide. I don't know. Couldn't decide what to do. They started in 1994, and the movie didn't ship until 1999. It's 5 years. And it had at least 2 of those just in pre-production, where people were just generating artwork. Another famous movie that had a trouble production, Jaws. You know, look how that turned out. Back to the Future had a trouble production. They even reshot like a third of the movie with a completely new actor. Look how that turned out. In recent memory, troubled production, that look at Rogue One. I mean, a lot of people don't like it. A lot of people love it. I love it. Whatever they need to do to fix it, they fix it. I just think, here's the thing, man. Like, you know what didn't have a troubled production? Star Trek Beyond. And I know, Bacon, you and I, you know, we did that trailer review, but like, what do you call that? Reaction video.
Yeah.
And it didn't do that well financially for the film, right? Star Trek Beyond. So, and I was joking with Kyle that maybe it could have used more lens flares. Like, I don't, I don't know. It's not my, look, is J.J. Abrams my first choice? Probably not. You know what I mean? There's plenty of great directors out there who can build a production, but how many are available and can nail the tone? Because, as you know, the difference between movies and video games are, you know, movies are about tone and video games are about really that gameplay loop. You know, like that gameplay loop is the most important part. And if that never works in a game, tone all you want, it's just not going to be fun to play. In a movie, it's all about tone. You walk in there, you know, that's why when people see a trailer for something and then they go in the film at something completely different, they get all pissed off. Case in point, Mother has been getting a lot of weird reactions because the advertising says one thing and the movie makes you feel a whole nother situation altogether. So, you know, I believe both sides in this instance. I hate to use this. Let me rephrase that. I think everyone has a valid point, but there's no fucking way they end up with the movie as low on the bar as any of the prequel films. It's just no way. It can't happen. There's no way in this movie they're going to have some alien creature walk along, go, Misa, Poodoo, Stinky, Udu. You know, like it's not... You know, I have to like remind people how bad, like, you know, there's some people there that like the prequels, but that's great. Some people like to eat ranch dressing out the bottle. Brandon. So, you know, like there's something for everyone. But having worked on a grip of Star Wars merchandise, the prequels were really horrible for merchandise past episode 1. They got worse and worse with every movie, and to the point where before episode 7 came out, you couldn't sell anything. Even these people who love the prequels, when they released the Phantom Menace in 3D, no one went to see it. No one bought the shirts saying, I love my Jar Jar. No one. You couldn't get one retailer to even take a Jar Jar shirt, even as a joke. That's how burned they were on that merchandise. You know, and you go, well, merchandise doesn't matter. Kind of does. You want to know why Wonder Woman is doing quite well at the box office, but you know what makes them the money? The fucking t-shirts, man. Like, that's what makes them, the action figures, the t-shirts, all that merchandise is what pays for all this. It's always been that way, even with Star Wars. The fucking action figures, that's how Lucas made his fortune, was that he owned all the damn merchandising rights to these things, you know? He traded off his paycheck for the merchandising rights. So that's what pays for everything. I think, you know, I just hope that they said JJ is going to be co-writing this film with Chris Terrio, who, for good and for bad, right? So for good, Chris Terrio co-wrote Argo, right? He was Oscar nominated for that, or won it. I can't even remember. Bad, he co-wrote Batman versus Superman. So which guy are we going to get, right, to help seal the deal? I have to wonder. Brandon, your thought on J.J. Abrams coming to work on Episode 9?
I'm excited. I liked The Force Awakens a lot, and I never really was a huge Star Wars fan, so that movie made me want to be more of a Star Wars fan, and that made me excited going into watching Rogue One, even though I know it's not the same director, but still, it was another Star Wars movie. So I'm excited for him to continue with, you know, Kylo Ren and that whole stuff, whatever else, because he made me excited to be a Star Wars fan. So I'm all for it.
Hey,
know,
Brandon.
Whether it's going to be...
Brandon, why don't we try something? Why don't you just disconnect and re-add to the stream? Because you're just cutting out every 3 seconds.
Okay.
So, in the meantime, anything you want to rebut to that, Bacon? Anything you got to add or reply or?
I mean, I liked Batman versus Superman, so.
Oh, so this is you don't. So that's, you know, if you like, did you like Argo? Did you get a chance to see that?
I did, and I did like Argo. So knowing that this guy is co-writing it with J.J. Abrams, that's definitely an uptick for me. I didn't know anything about him. I did not know the name. I did not know what he also helps write. So, you know, being filled in on this, that makes me a little bit more excited, because I liked both movies. I mean, you know, Argo was a really good, serious film. We saw that, in fact, I think the day after it won Best Director.
Right.
They were like, man, we hadn't gone and seen that. Let's go and see it. And then Batman and Superman, I don't know. I know I'm in the minority on Batman and Superman, and I can talk definitely a little bit more to that because that's more in my wheelhouse. But I really feel like that the characters came through strongly. Okay, yeah, the plot device at the end to bring the heroes together to reconcile was complete crap, and Lex Luthor sucked. I hated Lex Luthor. But generally speaking, I think that the overall tone was good, and I think that Affleck's Batman, and you may disagree with me on this because I know we've had conversations about this before, but Affleck's Batman is the best live-action on-screen Batman we've ever had.
Yes.
But that's
no. You're gonna get a lot of agreement in here, bro. We all agree.
Oh yeah. Oh great. Okay, great. Because I know you and I haven't had a chance to talk much. We haven't really been connecting that regularly. But I loved Affleck's Batman. I still do. I'm very excited for Justice League. I'm very excited for any standalone films they put him in. I think he does an incredible job, especially with the fact that he's sort of portraying Miller's Batman, the more brutal, doesn't care, has no sympathy for the criminal Batman. I really, really dig it. I'm not necessarily a huge fan of the darker tone that the DC movies tend to set, but if you're going to do dark and you're going to do Batman, Miller's Batman is the way to fucking go, and he nailed it.
I tend to think a lot of that tone, though, and I'm not the first person to say it, is just the Zack Snyder influence. And I think the question with Chris Terrio coming to work on, say, something like Episode 9 is who added the jokes like Granny's peach tea? You know, like, was that a Snyder thing? Was that a Terrio? We don't know.
Right.
I know Collider was saying that they had made an off comment that the Martha thing and the peach tea thing wasn't Chris Terrio. You know, so
I guess we'll figure it out. I mean, it's kind of like I guess at this point it's like a duet. Like I don't know if anyone knows industrial music, but a band springs to mind. Frontline Assembly, like Bill Leeb and Rice Fulber together. You think that Bill Lieb's the guy? He's the innovator. He's the one that's bringing all the innovation to the band, and then they split. And Bill Lieb's music is terrible, and Reese Fulber is excellent. So it's like, well, maybe we got to give the guy a shot. Maybe when he pulls away from what we know him for, he'll be able to, right his own ship. But I mean, barring those sillinesses, I'm looking forward to it now. So,
well, if Kylo pulls up a jar of Granny's blue milk, then we know exactly who wrote what. Speaking about Batman v Superman, I wanted to point you all to this link, and Brandon will make certain this is in the show notes here. The rumored original story for Batman v Superman revealed. This is actually a year or so old, but I wanted to bring this back up because I don't think a lot of people got to read this. These guys are the Movie Pilot's pretty well respected site, and they covered the original story treatment that David Goyer put together for Batman v Superman, which at first wasn't titled World's Finest. Can you believe it? And it has a lot of similar beats as the movie we got, except there's no Doomsday whatsoever. Lex Luthor was an older guy. The main dude that was working for Lex was in fact KG Beast, not just in weird name relationships, but actually called himself that. Had Lucius Fox dying in the beginning, which would have made a lot more sense for the opening. The death of Lucius and the destruction of Wayne Enterprises during the Man of Steel is what brings him out of retirement. I gotta be honest, folks, this treatment is the movie we should have got. Like, it just, something between this and what shipped, something happened, man. Like, something happened, and I don't know who got involved. So I really think that you should all take a chance and read through it. But it does kind of break your heart when you see that they had all the pieces there, and somewhere along the way, what's the word I'm thinking of? Brandon, you know when you go to the buffet line to get just some Chinese food and you come back with mashed potatoes,
every week. You settle with what's before you.
Yeah, where you just add one of everything. You know what I mean? Like, when you add one of everything and you're like, I went for something and I got one of everything. So that, yeah, I don't know, man. It's a little frustrating. Moving right along. Oh, and then lastly, and the good news, I think the best thing about the JJ thing is they moved it back to December 21st, 2019. And I personally like my Star Wars at Christmas. That's how I am now, man.
I'll agree with that.
As an older guy, you don't really look forward to Christmas, You're like, fuck, just another year, getting older. But, so. Moving right along. Brandon, is there anything you'd like to pick out here?
Let's go with... you want to go over John Snap Destroys Inhumans?
We could talk about it really quickly. Did you watch any of it?
Nope.
So you're gonna pick something I have to talk about?
Yep.
Thanks, Brandon. So John Schnepp, if you don't follow Collider Movie Talk, I've been following them for a number of years now. They do a show called Collider Heroes, and John Schnepp is the guy who runs Collider Heroes. He also recently, well, not recently, he did a Kickstarter for the death and life of Superman documentary based on Superman Lives, a Nick Cage Superman movie with Tim Burton that never came out, that I backed. I'm a backer. I'm in the credits. But he went and saw Inhumans at IMAX and just fucking ripped it. Something fierce. Like, I gotta make sure this doesn't play, but it's right here. Inhumans review, yay or nay. It's just fantastic. He's not a guy that normally gets mean. He's a really even-keel dude, but when he doesn't like something, hold on, I'm gonna bring this up. He'll say it's, it's bullshit garbage.
All out.
Yeah, he did it something fierce. I mean, said what needed to be said, I think, concerning this. This is it right here. In Marvel and Humans, yay or nay. Oh, make sure my little thing isn't in the way. But if you'd like to see, the current tomato meter score for Marvel and Humans is 7%. Now, you could say tomato meter...
7?
Yeah.
7?
Yeah, it was at 0 up until about a day ago.
Holy
it got
shit.
one fresh review, but brought it up to 7. Now, you could say tomato meter isn't a good indicator of whether something's good or bad. However, I'm going to let you know, tomato meters for TV series are especially lenient. Especially lenient. So for something to get a 7% tomato meter is, whoo shit, dog. Bacon, did you get a chance to go to IMAX and sit through this turd fest? Like,
No, I didn't, but I was looking forward to it. Was looking forward.
You are a big Inhuman fan, though, right? Like, James?
Yes.
Like,
Yes, I've always enjoyed the Inhumans. I've always enjoyed the family dynamic. All the way up until the recent Marvel thing where they're kind of like replacing mutants with Inhumans because of the whole movie rights thing that's going on, or at least that's my interpretation. That might not be what is actually taking place. But having read, I read Royals, I read Inhumans. They're good books. I read Black Bolt. It's a really good book. And I was really looking forward to this. And unfortunately, based on your feedback, it is, and this gentleman at Collider is apparently trash.
He was probably the most excited. He even gave Iron Fist. So Iron Fist, the showrunner for Iron Fist is Scott Buck. And I have this hashtag I've been putting out for about 6 months now, Scott Buck Strikes Back, or Strikes Again. And he's also the showrunner for Inhumans. And John Schnepp, he gave Iron Fist, the series, a fairly decent score. Like, he's like, just skip the first 6 episodes, and the last 6, they work pretty good. You can, it's not the best, but you can take it. It's got some good stuff there, and move forward to Defenders. He had nothing to say about it. Just spectacular fail. And you could say, well, it's not the worst comic book thing ever made. That's true. But given where we're at now, it's just severely mediocre. And he ranked it right up there with the 90s level of stuff that you used to see from studios. Like, and you go, well, Rob, fucking Blade came out in the 90s. I'm like, yeah, but there was this middle period of just a giant shit show. Like Barbed Wire, the Phantom, Shadow. Tank Girl, Crow 2, Spawn, you remember that one? And those are all far superior to Inhumans. Far superior. So, yeah, just if you want to see another fan feel miserable for about 30, 40 minutes, just go watch John Schnepp's review of the Inhumans. I'm actually going to force myself to sit. I'm going to take the Scott Buck Challenge. And the Scott Buck Challenge is as such. See how long you can last through a Scott Buck production. For me, my current reigning score is 4 minutes and 50 seconds in Iron Fist. That's how much I could take. Wow. It's the first.
You got somebody in the chat room, Dasuki, sorry if I pronounced your name wrong, saying Iron Fist is a good show. Well,
someone's going to like it, Dasuki. I'm not saying, because, and I'm never going to say, well, you didn't get it, like if you like it. No, someone will like it. That being said, the overwhelming response to this has not been favorable. And for me as a fan, I could tell you when he does the roundhouse kick with his foot to open up the elevator in Iron Fist episode 1, that's about what I used to look like after I'd see Karate Kid. Right. When you see Karate Kid, you think you learned some shit, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna do what the foot comes up off the fucking. It's bad, and I do this really poor or when you pretend to do like a Ryu punch, the dragon punch.
Right.
It's not good, man. So let's start with you. Is there anything you want to add to this potato head? Brandon?
I just seeing the trailers for it, nothing about it other than for the Inhumans, other than the cool looking Hawaii scenery and the slow dripping water looked cool to me. I mean, nothing about it made me go like, oh yeah, this is a kingdom ruled by, troubled people. Like, it just was like, look at these guys in costumes running around Hawaii and special forces and water drips. Like, there's nothing that made me go like, oh, I really want to watch this. So I'll sit through it because I know you'll make me, or at least make me try to. But other than that, I have no interest.
Take the Scott Book challenge when Inhumans pops up in your Hulu, Amazon, whatever, and see how long you can take. Some people are. Mike said he got 6 episodes in, before he quit and went to Defenders, and I lasted 4 minutes 50 seconds. Did you see any of Iron Fist, Bacon? Did you see any of that?
I didn't. I'm way behind on the Netflix Marvel stuff. We're stuck, I think, almost 3/4 of the way through the first season of Daredevil. So I haven't seen Daredevil 2. I haven't seen Jessica Jones. I haven't seen anything. Not Luke Cage, not anything. So I really need to get caught up with that. But I've heard the clamor about Iron Fist and how it's not great, and Danny Rand's kind of a whiny ass. I really like Iron Fist, the comic book. There was a time where that and Moon Knight, and I guess The Journey into Mystery, they were the only 3 Marvel books I was reading. But I don't know. I guess they kind of flubbed this one.
Carrie Andrews did a really cool Iron Fist series about a year ago. That was pretty dope. And, he's a filmmaker. Why they didn't get him to work on it, I don't know. I did do a Defenders spoilers recap with Mike, which I'll just quickly show here. Boom, there's this. And I think Mike was calling him Danny Bland. He was very, very proud of himself for that one. So, and that about says right. Just kind of wow. I wish you would have a costume. I'm right there with you. There's a lot of things they could have done with that character. We kind of get into it there. And I think we're pretty fair. I mean, I think it's just a colossal waste because the Inhumans, I didn't read the Jack Kirby stuff, but I did buy every issue twice. The Ladron Inhumans, which if you're not familiar with Ladron, how do you pronounce his name, Brandon? Inhumans. You know what I'm talking about?
Nope.
Bacon, do you know what I'm talking about? I'll bring it up.
I know who you're talking about. I don't know how to correctly pronounce it.
Yeah. Ladron had this he has this Jose Ladron. He has this Kirby meets Mobius meets Jeff Darrow kind of look to his art. I'll bring this right up here. And this series came out around the early 2000s. And it was pretty fucking awesome shit, And you want to talk about dark. Like if they had done this series, on this is like the Netflix version of fucking Inhumans. This fucking book, dude. It's pretty dope shit though, man. He did Hip Flask, that's his artwork from Hip Flask. But you can see here, he got that whole Kirby meets kind of like a little bit of Geiger, a little bit of that influence, a little bit of H.R. Geiger in there. So if you're unfamiliar with Jose Ladron's Inhumans work, it's pretty fucking phenomenal book that he put together. I think it was like 4 issues if I remember right. So it was about the time I still bought Marvel Comics. All right, everybody, let's move on from internet news. Speaking of Defenders, like I said, I reviewed that last week, but I know Brandon wanted to quickly, non-spoilery, just give me his 2 cents on that so he can shut up. What did you think about Defenders overall, Brandon?
Overall, I give it a 6.5, 7 out of 10. I mean,
how many
wasn't
Van?
horrible.
No, we have a Van Damme scoring here. So people don't know the Van Damme. I'm working on the graphics, folks. We score according to Van Damme's here at SketchCraft. So Van Damme currently has, Jean-Claude Van Damme has 64 movies out. Now, he's got one coming out and one in production, so the score is going to change soon. But out of a possible score of 64 Van Dammes, how many Van Dammes does Defenders get from you?
42.
Whoa, that's a low Van Damme score.
Is that low?
That's
Isn't
super
that like
low.
60, 70?
Huh?
All right,
that's almost a C. That's a 50%'s an F.
51 out of 64. I mean, like, it wasn't bad. I mean, there was a lot of cool. Like, okay,
imagine your wife says that about you in that exact same tone coming out the bedroom. Just imagine.
Hell yeah. It was adequate. It did the job. It filled the void, the time.
It filled the void? I don't know. That's your phrase.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, there's things I liked about it. You know, they were funny. They were, when they talk shit to each other and such. And, you know, it wasn't bad. It was, Iron Fist was more of a badass in that than he was in the other ones. I would have liked to see maybe, like, since they were battling the hand, maybe some more ninjas that when they die, they dissolve or turn into smoke, or more of that mystic, the hand feel where they got they do. It's in the comic book. The hand when they poop, they turn into green smoke when they die. Depend on who. It's true.
I'm all for that now.
It's true. So, but anyways, I wanted to see more actual ninjas and red outfits, swords, because it's the fucking hand. I didn't want to see guys in black suits and tuxedos and leather jackets showing up with their guns to fight ninja warriors. Like, show me other ninjas fighting these guys who are all about kung fu and shit. You could have had like a huge buff dude fighting Luke Cage. Like, he comes in thinking he can whip his ass, and then like some skinny little ninja dudes trying to fight Iron Fist and Daredevil. Like, match that up. Not all these guys who look cookie cutter, like they all shop at the same store with the dark jackets and they're all just carrying assault rifles and machine guns and bullshit. Like, that's the only problem I had with it. It was just, I mean, it was entertaining, but it wasn't needed.
Well, I don't want to spoil it for Bacon, but I'll say in the review, roughly, we do agree that putting lots of guys in ninja outfits never gets old. Just classic ninja outfits. Right, Bacon? Right. You can admit it. If you saw a movie coming out this summer that was just 100 dudes in ninja outfits, it's got your $10, I think, right?
Yes.
You're always just guys in ninja outfits just look fucking amazing to me.
Yeah, I don't even care where they are, man. Put them on a spaceship. I don't care. I'm watching 100
ninjas in space.
Yeah. You could just start a bunch of sci-fi series, just ninjas in, and fill in the fucking blank, and I'm there, Yeah.
And then I'll just call him Days. Says in chat, have you seen Ninja Assassin, the 2010 movie? That had, and Ash agrees, that had some really cool ninjas. And the story was just a bunch of ninjas fighting each other. Like, that's all you need. You throw some ninjas in with the superheroes, which are already ninjas. It just makes it so much more dope to me. Like, that's all I really wanted was some, Yakuza ninja assassin dudes just coming at them, coming through the ceiling, everything. Just let's go. Let's battle. That's what I would have liked. So.
Alrighty, so let's move on really quickly. Bacon, did you happen to see South Park episode 1?
No. I'm the worst friggin' guest that you could have on this podcast.
No, you read a lot of comics. That's why we're going to be getting more into comics soon. So, so that's Rob, why I got you on.
Before you go over that, I really think you need to clear out that wall behind you to make it more of an open space between you and the kitchen.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil South Park season 21, episode 1, but I'll say this: I have been purchasing a home since June. We've been looking through the home market, and this newest episode basically encapsulated most of my life.
So spot on. So good.
Yeah, since July, it's pretty dope stuff. It's
also always, if you are a married man or a woman listening to this, that episode where Cartman's fighting with his girlfriend, there's moments in there where you kind of like go, fuck, is that me? Is that me sometimes?
Yeah, we've all done that.
That's me. That's me. I've done that. That's me.
21 seasons though, man. And
that's crazy.
They're still coming out with Fractured Butthole, right? Which is like on my top 3 must-have games of next year. Probably right after Dragon Quest, obviously. You know, for me, it's always going to be Dragon Quest. But it's pretty dope. And yeah, South Park is weird, but I think that's the key is they don't. They know when to repeat themselves. They know when to go into fucking weird land, and they know when to add a little bit of commentary. But it's just, it's a great show, man. It lived up to the hype. So let's get into what we have been reading. Brandon, you have been reading Dark Knight's Metal, right?
Yes, you gotta say it more. You gotta say it more like metal. Dark Knight's Metal. Fuck yeah! So let's go with issue 1. This is one. It gets you kind of down to the hero basics in the book because they're kind of stripped of their powers, so to speak.
Why don't you tell people what Dark Knight's Metal is?
And so just kind of, fuck. I'm 2 issues in, and I'm still confused. At the first issue, they're basically like in a gladiator arena in Mongol. I believe that's how you pronounce his name. Is the dictator in this arena, and he's making them fight robots. Okay, and so they're fighting robots, and then they fight the robots, and then they become part of the robots, and they're giant, like a Justice League Megazord, and it's just it reminds me of something out of like the Justice League cartoon, where it's so far-fetched and wild. You're just like, fuck it, let's go there. Let's just go with it. Issue 2, it's like Batman versus the Justice League, and there's a lot of stuff that I haven't read DC Comics in a while, so I'm behind on a lot of shit. I mean, in this, they tell me that Batman was killed and then he got resurrected. All right, and then you got, and spoilers for anybody who hasn't read it. Sorry, spoilers. And then you got a scene that's straight out of old '60s Justice League, where the whole meanwhile at the Legion of Doom, where you have that little head pop out of the swamp, that happens in the issue. There's a baby Darkseid in the issue, and Batman basically uses him like a weapon. He's just like, I have a fucking baby Darkseid. I know how to use him.
And that's not spoiling because they put that all over Twitter. DC and
yeah,
so they ran ads.
So it's just, this shit is just bonkers. It's just like a metal song mixed with cocaine mixed with Batman. It's just all over the place. I don't know half the shit that's going on, but I'm still like, I'll read it, whatever. But yeah, it's all over the place, and there's a lot of stuff I don't know because I haven't been reading the comics. So when they're like, yeah, the Joker killed me, but then I resurrected myself with the Prometheum chair, and shit. I'm just like, what? Batman got killed, and then
here's the thing, right? So it's drawn by Greg Capullo, written by Scott Snyder. Pretty good team, ever since back to DC, the New 52.
Right.
They've been on, the same, revamping Batman, and this sort of is supposed to tie into their entire run. Like Scott Snyder's been putting little like nuggets of info and different story plot lines, and this issue 2 is where it sort of ties those together. But it really feels like, to me, first off, I love the art, so I got no complaints about Greg Capullo's art. Story-wise, it really feels like there's 15 issues in between issues that I'm not reading. And I think that's because there's 15 other issues in between the issues that I'm not reading. Like they're really, this is unlike Age of Apocalypse. And no, I guess Age of Apocalypse wasn't that different. Remember back in the 90s, Marvel did the Age of Apocalypse, which was like a rebooting of their universe where Professor Xavier's son killed Professor Xavier, so he was never there, and then this dark future happened, which Apocalypse ruled, and Magneto ran the X-Men. And it was a giant crossover, but I felt like if you just read the intro to that book, to that whole storyline, and the key X-Men issues, like Astonishing X-Men, in the end, you pretty much got the majority of the story.
Right. Yeah.
This one, like, I figured was going to be their sort of like DC's version of that apocalyptic storyline, right? And
yeah.
Only I'm going to be honest, guys. Like, if it wasn't for me having sat through the first season of Legends of Tomorrow, I wouldn't know half the fucking dudes are. There is a whole nother part of lore to comics, especially with the big two, the Marvel and DC, that I don't personally understand. I've heard of all this stuff, and I used to read all the who's who in the DC universes and Marvel Universe comics, like Vandal Savage and shit. I get it.
Yeah.
But this is some, as John Schnepp would say, this is some real sweaty stuff. I mean, and so either that's your cup of tea, or it isn't. And for me, Brandon, you're familiar with a writer by the name of Grant Morrison? Perhaps you've heard of this man?
Yes.
There's two Grant Morrisons. A writer, not the guy who draws over Brandon's books. But as a writer, there's two kinds of Grant Morrisons, right? One, there's the Grant Morrison that rebooted the JLA in the mid-90s and gave it the core foundational characters and made it really fucking interesting. It was just Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Martian Manhunter, and Green Lantern. And those were some amazing issues, of which, I mean, the fucking storylines you can still mine from. There's a million great stories in those things, filled with esoteric little bits from Coast to Coast AM and Art Bell and crazy fucking, conspiracy theory books, but it was the core characters as the heroes. And then there's this newer Grant Morrison that puts fucking every crazy little fucking thing you've ever heard of, filled with random Silver Age characters who are villains conspiring to do things. And for some people, that's their thing because they're way into, the what do you call those on an album, Brandon? To bring it back to music, the deep cuts, right?
Yeah.
Like filled with lots of deep cut references and Easter eggs. And I personally, I'm in the shallow pool, in that excursion. And I feel this is definitely Snyder doing a lot of deep cut references, to the point where I don't even know if it's readable just as a book. I really don't. So
I found myself towards the end of the second issue just kind of looking at the art, and then I read it because I knew you'd want me to take notes, but I just kind of was like, this is all over the place. First they're hunting Batman, and then Batman has Darkseid as a baby in his backpack, and then he's just like, back up, bitches, I got Darkseid. Like, and he's a baby, and I'm just...
If I can interject real quick.
Go ahead.
This loves Batman. She loves Capullo, loves Snyder. Has been reading them ever since the New 52. And she was really excited for this, but she picked up, what was the first one? Forged or
Days of the Forge or whatever?
There were two intro books. She read the intro books and then immediately went, oh my God, I have to do all this research to find all these stories from years ago so that I can be informed enough to read Batman Metal. And at that point, I knew it was like, oh, well, shit, this is going to be an event, isn't it? And it seems to draw just a touch too much from previous DC, like you said, deep cut mythos.
Hold on one second. Right there. Let's hold it right there. I feel this is a cool dark universe. I love this imagery that I just popped up, like the picture of the statue and the Matrix, the first Matrix movie, kind of like dark future for DC where it's Batman everything and it's vicious. Mm-hmm. I like that. I just feel like this almost should have maybe even been a novel, like an actual novel, versus a comic book series. Like, I've been having these conversations, on the cast for about a year or two. I've been reading a lot of light novels, which is sort of like a blend between manga and novels. Like the Sword Art, there's even a Sword Art Online, it's like a reboot, but it's where they take the premise of the first light novel for Sword Art and go level to level. So the first Sword Art whole story gets done in one book, and this takes that storyline and, for people who, like me, who love the premise of the first story, goes a deep dive, right, into each floor of that 100-level fucking thing, and it's for the fans. And I just feel like this has so much cool stuff that it really needs to be, for it to be broken up in these weird little books and presented in this way. Just, I don't know, man, like if it's doing it any favors, Could you imagine if the original Dark Knight Returns was presented in this way, where it was a multi-company event? It should have been like just a Dark Knight Returns one-off, 6 super contained issues, or even 12 like the Watchmen with extra notes and stuff in the background. You know what I mean? Like it needed to be its own thing, I feel. But go ahead, your thoughts on what you think it should be, or if it's working for you, Bacon.
I haven't begun reading it yet. I'm waiting for Candace to get through it so she can do all the research and buy all the back issues so I have everything that I need.
How do you feel about Cosmic Batman? Just curious, because I'm not a big fan of Batman with the laser gun fighting aliens like we see in the
my favorite Batman is covered in dirty water up to his knees doing the detective work, trekking through back alleys and city streets and just being that on-the-ground detective. That is my favorite version of Batman. I'm cool with alternate universe Batmans. I'm even cool with space Batman and lasers sometimes. But, I mean, to me, Batman, I don't like Batman the icon, Batman the symbol. I like Batman the man, Batman the detective, Batman the man willing to do anything and to break boundaries in order to get at what he is driving toward. And that is my favorite Batman. And I think that, Capullo and Snyder, who did I believe it was both of them that did the Court of Owls, they really kind of nailed that with Court of Owls. Because it was just such a unique telling of a Batman story. Here is all of this stuff that happened behind his back in his family that he was completely not exposed to, completely hidden away from. There are things about the city and the 13 floors that he had no knowledge of, and he knows Gotham like the back of his hand. It was so brilliant, and so he had to go on this deep dive detective expedition almost to really
into his mind, even
to really discover what the hell was going on, and it changed kind of who he thought he was, and it changed who we thought he was, and that's my favorite Batman right there. And so, having these two be involved with this story, I'm excited to read it. I'm very, very excited to read it. But I don't really know what I'm in store for. Now, I've seen all the spoilers. I've seen all the artwork of the different Batmans. I've seen the Batman, what do they call him? The Batman Who Laughs. And I know that there's a bunch of different takes on where this is going to go in the story arc. And I'm excited to get there, but I haven't quite read it yet. Because
you're gonna need a trade paperback. There's no way around it. It's like, you remember when they did the Death of Superman, and they had the Death of Superman, and then they had the World Without a Superman, and then they had the Return of Superman. And the World Without a Superman was a really cool storyline, but you needed 15 fucking different issues to read it. It was only readable in trade paperback form. When you read it, it was really well put together. I mean, and this is coming from a guy who at the time was like, fuck DC, man. I'm Image, But I read it. My friend just left it. And, it's fucking summer. He got bored. I'm like, I'll read this. I don't give a shit. And I'm like, I was crying. I miss Superman. They got me with that World Without a Super. It was a bunch of Superman stories where it was like, what do you do when Superman's gone? And how does the world keep on? And I thought for a comic book, it did it really well. But without that book, without it collected, I believe, it was kind of a broke thing. And this is one of those things, too, where I feel you're going to need 15 other issues. Even then, I don't know. I just don't know. I think it's a great premise. It has a cool name. I like the metal aspect. I like this evil Wachowski Matrix future for, but if it's going to be all Batman in the future, like all evil Batman, it might test the limits of how much Batman can DC take, right? Like, how much Batman can we take? And I am with you. For me, there's two kinds of Marvel right now, right? There's the movies, which is this big, grand, cosmic, everyone getting together to fight Thanos. And then there's the Daredevil series. And I got to be honest, folks, man, I'm like the Daredevil series all the way. I just want to see someone get a GoPro. I want them to go to Hell's Kitchen and watch a guy jump off a fucking roof and get into a fist fight. Like, that's my favorite shit, So I like both. They're both interesting experiences, but if I had to pick one or the other, I'm always going to pick boots on the ground. And that's how I like my Batman. I like my Batman boots on the ground,
Yep, I'm totally with you on that.
All right, and then bringing this up to... So I'm going to show you guys something. So every now and then, I spend some of that SketchCraft money you guys get me, and I buy stuff. Not too often, but I do. And I thought I would share something that I bought because I think it's pretty fucking cool. Speaking of the 90s, and speaking of Greg Capullo, someone gave Greg Capullo a pretty fucking amazing job in the 90s and brought Greg Capullo to my map, and that person's Todd McFarlane. And he came out with the Spawn Vault Edition, this giant fucking thing you can see here. It's 11 by 17. And it's just like if you're familiar with the artist editions, the IDW and DC has been putting out for a while now. I happen to own the Dark Knight Returns artist edition. And I got this sucker because this is the first 8 issues of Spawn at size, right? Look at this shit, at size with all the mistakes, all the whiteout, the little scribbles, the drawing, the coffee stains. You can even see quickly. Let me see if I can post this up here. Like you can see, even has like the tape. Right, the mistakes, the registration marks, right off his desk. As is, you can see every little line, nook and cranny. I mean, if you're a fan of Todd's work and that image stuff, I can't stress, folks, this is one of the coolest fucking things I own. You know, honestly, as an art fan, like, let me just see if I can quickly bring up. There's some spoilers. There's some stuff in here that's never been shown before too. There's sketches on the back. He's provided. I want to try to get something here that at least looks can show some of the stuff. Brandon, you're a fan of that era, right? You got into comics around then. I know you love spending money on student loans, but when you don't, would this be something you'd be you'd
I don't know if I'd buy. I don't know if I'd buy that one, but I do love all these artist editions, these books that show you like all the stuff, all the pencils, the ink wash, the mistakes, the grittiness of it, all the cool stuff like that. So I think it's dope just to have. I like the Dark Knight books that are just black and white, and they're just the pencils and pen versions. So anytime I see something like this that's on sale at a con or something, I'm always all for. Or like, yeah, you know what, I'll grab it because I like seeing that. It's like when I get a sketch from an artist. I don't like them when they erase all the pencils off it. If they ink over it, I'm like, leave that stuff. Leave the mistakes.
Mine came signed with the Notary Public by Todd McFarlane. Oh, shit, dog. Look at that. So, pretty dope. Yeah, man, this fucking thing is amazing. Bacon, do you own any artist editions, or is that your thing, or have you seen it? Are you aware of this?
I do not own any artist editions. I didn't even know that was a thing until you just brought it up just now. But checking this thing out a little bit, I mean, I love Spawn. I really love Spawn. And that is definitely something that I would be interested in.
Okay, if you like Spawn, I'm telling you right now, Bacon, this is beyond essential owning. I own the black, I own all the collective volumes, and I own the black and white one that he did. But the black and white one is the inks before they get colored, so they've been, they went through the anti-aliasing and they're cleaned up. It's not indicative of this. This, you see all the white out. You see like parts that were there that you could tell the other drawings, the under sketches, the notes.
You kind of, I mean, with that kind of stuff, with that kind of markings, you're able to almost get inside the head of the artist in the moment that they were doing the art, and yeah. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, and so when like I said, my first Comic-Con was San Diego 1992 when Image came out, and I was familiar with Todd's work only because of that one issue of Spider-Man where he punches the Hulk up into the logo and like breaks the logo, right? It's like my favorite fucking drawn issue ever, and I didn't have access to a lot of comics at the time, but I knew that. And when I saw Spawn, I'm like, oh, that's that guy who did the Spider-Man, because they looked almost alike. And then I learned, obviously, post that con, I was very into like Wizard was out and everything else, so I was able to keep track of what was going on. But that those pages were never there at cons. Like you used to have, because you have art collectors when you go to conventions, and they'll put up the pages that they bought and they're reselling. Todd stuff has never been resold from those issues, just Spider-Man stuff. And this is the first time he's even reprinted it. So I've never seen his art up close. The Spawn pages. I've seen everyone else's shit, Savage Dragon stuff. I've seen all of Stephen Platt's Prophet stuff up close, all the Gen 13, Mike Turner stuff up close, Silvestri's. But I never got to see those stuff. So this is pretty dope. Like I said, I own the Dark Knight Returns. I'll have to bring that up sometime. and we have a less Batman heavy episode. That is, again, essential owning too. They also have an artist edition for, I own one other one. It's for Sam Keats Max. So we'll get into that sometime. That's fucking amazing. And there's one for Bone. If you're a big fan of Bone, which I am. Bone and Spawn were the 2 books I bought. Regardless of how much money I had, I would just not eat lunch and save my lunch money up. So I had those covered. And between those 2, that book is dope. Again, I bought this. This is not something that Todd and them send me. You know, this is my own. This is what some of that commission money goes toward, folks. The rest is basically just supplies and driving down to see Brandon. So I really recommend it. I can't geek out enough about that. We're at the 1 hour mark, so I'm going to just wrap this up really quickly. Let's just jump straight to Toy Box. Unless you guys got anything you want to add to that conversation. Is there anything else?
Nope.
Okay, let's just really quickly talk about Toy Box. This is where I like to talk about all those crazy-ass expensive toys that I wish I could buy because I'm too busy buying these books. Can't fucking afford any of this shit. Just want to bring a few to your attention. 2 that you can buy and 1 that you can only buy if you're fucking super wily. The first one I'm going to bring up is this. Let me bring this up here. This is fucking dope. This is the TMNT Leonardo 1/4 scale figure by Nika, based off the Jim Henson designs, the first Turtles movie. Still my favorite Turtles of all time, this first movie.
Yeah, that's dope.
God, it looks so good. If you're a fan, Brandon, you are, right? You're a fan.
I am.
Look
I
for
am.
$100.
I don't have the money for it, but for $100, that's a good deal.
You can buy it right now,
good.
Brandon. You could trade.
Oh, it's $100.
$100.
I'll buy that right now.
See, look how I'm selling it. Look how good this is. Come on, man.
I thought it was going to be like a $250 figure. Yeah, I'll buy that for $100.
They're getting so good. So this is on my Christmas list. My wife does like me to leave some things, on the Christmas list.
Right.
30 points of articulation. 30 points of articulation. Movie accurate, dude. And I mean, interchangeable hands. I mean, and the face sells it to me. The face is so perfect. I really wish they would make a Netflix series where they just continue Man in Suit for the Turtles. I call it, do the City at War storyline. It's really simple. I got this set up, right, Bacon? You've never heard this. So Netflix, 5-episode series, right? Or 6-episode series. The first 4 episodes, each turtle split up, and they're surrounded by the Foot, and they got to make it back. And the last 2 episodes, they got to fight the Shredder, and the Foot Clan together. Just call it City at War, and do Men in Suit Turtles, and it'd be fucking amazing. But yeah,
that's a good idea.
Yeah,
that's a treatment for it.
Yeah. I'll just leave Idaho and go all the way down into Netflix. And be like, here's my idea, But this shit is dope. Also, Bacon, you watch anime?
A little, not a lot.
Have you watched One Punch Man?
I have not watched One Punch Man, but I am familiar with it.
The greatest Superman story you've never read. I'm telling you right now, One Punch Man is amazing. This is a pretty dope-ass One Punch Man figure. Fully articulate, and it comes with his creepy face. Look at that shit right there.
This is what 3-0. Yeah, this is going to be an expensive one, isn't it?
Yeah, this is the face Brandon gets whenever he sees the buffet at the at the Comic-Con, at the Vegas Con, the Fresh Basil. Or Backyard Taco. I think Backyard Taco most definitely. But pretty fucking dope One Punch Man figure. I like it. I like the serious face, Saitama, and look at that belt buckle. It's pretty dope. Cloth cape, huh? They don't make a lot of cloth capes anymore, At least not a whole lot that I would approve of, but this is pretty good. One Punch Man Season 2 currently in production. Can't fucking wait. But I highly recommend, Bacon, if you haven't watched One Punch Man, to do it immediately.
Where can I get it? Is it like Crunchyroll or Amazon?
Crunchyroll, definitely on Crunchyroll. Probably on Netflix by now. But yeah, we did a recap episode thing for that first season. But it's got the humor and the viciousness of like a early Savage Dragon, But it's got it's just amazing. When they say you can't make a fucking Westgate buffet face, that's right, Ash. Ash has seen it. Ash has seen Brandon at the buffet table. And if you think I'm just being a fucking dick, you got to ask Ash. This is exactly what Brandon looks like when he sees they got the orange chicken.
Ash was there with us.
Or when Brandon orders
I don't remember. I don't remember him there.
You know, Brandon, you know when you order 2 Mountain Dews? He gets 2 Mountain Dews at the same time. And this is
Hell
insane.
yeah. Double fist that shit. I didn't even remember any of you guys being there. I just remember the food. That's what I was about.
So,
I blacked out.
I don't make any
woke
money.
up back in the room.
Okay, you're gonna cut me off every time I talk, huh, Brandon? I don't make any money recommending these toys, folks. I just think they're pretty fucking awesome. So that's dope. Lastly, this I have no idea where you'd buy, but I was digging through Twitter and a buddy of mine, Noppy, he makes these cool papercraft stuff. We should give him a link too, Brandon. Make sure remind me to give Noppy a link. He was showing off a Ninja Turtles pinball game. Came back out in the 90s. He's been playing, made from Data East, and I didn't even know this fucking thing existed, bro. I'm a big pinball guy. I never once got to play this fucking table, the Turtles table. Never even seen it. Don't know how I missed this one. And apparently, there's a bunch of YouTube videos. I'm gonna put a couple links to them. Let me make sure it doesn't fucking play this guy. So they go right through and play the whole cabinet. So you can check out these YouTube videos if you want to see more about how this thing works. Bacon, do you collect any of the pinball games like Zen 3D or Williams?
Yes, I do Zen 3D, and there's another one. I think it's 3D Pinball.
3D Pinball has a lot of the Williams tables, like Funhouse.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got
Yeah, I'm looking for one that has the creature from the Black Lagoon. It's my favorite pinball table of all time, but no one's digitized it yet.
Yeah, they got to get this one on there, dude. Like, this one isn't available either on any one of those platforms. So, I'm right there with you, man. Never seen this one. Fucking do so love it. I wanted it VR. You know what I mean? Like, pinball in VR. Why they don't have every one of these fucking tables in VR, I do not know. You know? Look at that Ninja Star. Look at that Shuriken.
That's an awesome idea.
Yeah, they should all be available in VR, because one thing about pinball you don't get from just the basic video games is just looking at the cabinet. I mean, literally, it 3 dimensions makes the most with pinball. You can see around, you know, you can see the cool construction of it. So, and I love, again, let me just go back really quickly. I just like the old retro art on here, man. It's pretty dope, you know. It's just something you're never going to see on a modern pinball table these days, you know. But, yeah, I thought that was pretty fucking awesome. So you could find one of these, probably restore it and fix it up if you had a lot of money. I'm not one of these guys. Kevin Eastman's signature right there. How dope was that? I didn't even see this in his office that they rebuilt the IDW. They have this little office. So if you don't know, IDW has like a museum built into it, the Comics Museum, and it's part of a deal they made with the city of San Diego to rent their location. And they recreated Kevin Eastman's office in there. So if you want to see his exact office, every fucking item got put in the exact order. And about a year ago, I got to go there with maybe, I don't know, 10 other people, and had dinner with Kevin Eastman and got the tour. We went into his office and he had all of his preliminary notes. Why he didn't have the table, I don't know. If I had known about it, I would have clowned him at the time. So, any thoughts on this stuff, guys? Anything to add? Anything you want to say?
I don't really play a lot of pinball. I mean, it looks cool. It would be cool to have, but I don't really like pinball.
Brandon, you suck. And with that, we will move right along. So that's the end of the show, everybody. Is there anything else we've missed? Anyone wants to bring anything up? At all? Anything?
No.
We've done a good job.
I'm good.
I'm good.
We've done the Lord's work today. All right, everybody.
Quick shout out to the people in the chat room: Psychotech, Ash. I still don't know how to pronounce the name. Dasuki, Chad Daly, Virgilio, Hector, everybody. Jamal, thanks for chatting throughout the cast. We always appreciate it. We love you, bots.
Yeah, we love you all, bots, man. Thanks for hanging out. And Bacon, pretty good first time on the show, coming back, right? I think you did well.
Yeah, it's fun. I hope I did well.
You did well enough. Good enough, Bacon.
Well enough. Okay. Cool.
No, I really appreciate you coming on, dude. And I hope you come back and you're just a regular, because I like having you here, well spoken. And we need you to explain this comic book shit to us that I don't fully read everything, so
Sure.
we're gonna definitely get your full wrap up on this metal fucking thing when it completes, because I gotta know what the fuck's going on.
I tell you what, I will be current by the next cast. I will make sure to be current on metal by the next cast.
Well, thanks for coming on. Appreciate it. I'll be back on really shortly, folks. I got artwork. It's coming. We're gonna be very busy this week, so be patient. That being said, say goodbye, everybody. Say goodbye.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Friends going away to the fresh basil buffet. Just ash. Hashtag sight to my face.